Hello, guys, gals, and non-binary pals. It's Big Mike, and I want to welcome you to this episode of Coffee with Big Mike, the series where I sit down for a chat with some rather interesting and amazing people over a nice cup of coffee. Joining me today is the multi-talented, ever-fabulous Kitti Minx. Welcome, Kitti, and thank you for joining us.
Oh, hey there. Thank you for having me, Big Mike.
Oh,
I'm flattered.
The pleasure is all mine. So how are you today?
Doing all right. Just getting over some allergies.
I know this
Going crazy here.
Yeah, this time of the year tends to be really rough for that, unfortunately. No, and I've been following your work since at least 2019, I would say. I found you through your ASMR videos on your YouTube, and they really helped me out a great deal. But for my listeners, or our listeners, I would say, could you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Sure. In regards to my YouTube channel or myself in general?
Just in general.
I'm obviously a content creator on YouTube. I specialize in ASMR style audio role plays. But I tend to try to tell stories my role plays. I don't just have a character do some triggers and that's it. I tend to try to make a more fleshed out piece. So I think that's what makes my work unique compared to other ASMR role players out there. And when I'm not doing that, I'm a Vtuber streamer on YouTube and Twitch. I have a couple of different personas. And at home, I'm a married mother of two.
Oh, wow. Actually, I think that's really cool that you're able to juggle all of that. You're able to juggle all of that and be a parent as well. A parent of two. That's quite a lot. Actually, and not many people know this about me, but actually, I'm actually married as well with one, and married with one child, and it's so much. I'm finding wow, being a dad, being a content creator, handling, the social media aspect is whoa. That is quite a lot to juggle, but I find it to be very rewarding. And no. Whenever you get a free moment, what do you like to do for fun?
For fun, I like to watch silly things online or a good movie, or if there's the opportunity, I like to cosplay, but thanks to a certain catastrophic event that hit the planet, cosplay events aren't really going on right now.
Sorry.
And it's really no fun to just dress up and sitting around your house.
I completely understand. I don't do too much dressing up. My dressing up mostly just involves me wearing a banana costume and walking around looking stupid. But it is the looks you kind of get, is kind of what makes it worthwhile. But unfortunately, this whole situation has kind of thrown a whole monkey wrench. But I'm hoping 2022 will be a much better year. Now, are you into gaming?
I like to watch gaming content, not a whole lot. I'm not super into it. It's not one of my top 5 things, but if there's an interesting game being played, I'll watch it. And I dabble myself. If I see a game that looks kind of neat, I'll give it a try, but I'm really bad at games. The only kinds of games I'm even remotely adequate at are fighting games like Mortal Kombat or Guilty Gear. Other than that, I'm trash. You don't want me playing Call of Duty with you. I will ruin your whole night. I'm just so inept.
I'm absolutely the same way. I remember back in university playing Halo on a LAN party, and I was definitely the odd one out. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. At that point, anybody could pick up a controller and take me out. And so, but platformers are more my cup of tea. I like some fighting games as well. I do love Mortal Kombat, by the way. A good choice. I'm not exactly sure, but I think maybe we're around the same age. So this might be a really interesting question to ask you. do you remember what your first game was that you ever played?
The first game I ever played. Ooh, that's tough. 'Cause that goes back to like 94, I think, for me. I think it might have been Duck Hunt.
I think that's a strong possibility for me too. I can't be 100% sure. My parents had an NES and they had that multi-cart with Super Mario Bros. And Duck Hunt on it. So it was one of those two, but I can't be 100% sure.
I remember I was never able to figure out Mario, so I played a lot of Duck Hunt.
And how do you feel about that dog on Duck Hunt, or in Duck Hunt, I should say?
Feel about that dog?
You know, the one
Cool dog.
he would laugh at you. You know, if you missed. Um, I remember being like 3 or 4 and just having like gamer rage. Like I miss and the dog's just laughing at me like. um,
I think we can blame that dog as like the source for all adults' gamer rage because it all spawned from that one dog.
and I will say though, for the time and the era, the technology was pretty cool. Was pretty cool. It's rather unfortunate today that unless you have like modify your setup, you can't really play it anymore on common TVs. But I think it was a really great experience to have. Um, no, no, I know you said you were a VTuber, and there's a huge intersection between VTube and anime culture. Are you into anime?
I am. I used to be a huge anime fan where I was keeping up with like everything going on. I kind of fell out of that once I got out of college because I then started getting really into like shows from the BBC and sci-fi stuff and things like that. And then when I met my now husband, I kind of started getting back into anime and seeing what's coming out and watching stuff.
And what was some of the anime that you liked?
Uh, One of my favorites, it's Kodomo no Omocha, or just Kurocha is what it was called when it was brought to the US. And that translates to child's toy. That's always been one of my favorites. It's amazing manga series. The anime is hilarious. I also really like Nana, which is another manga that's great, but never finished. But the anime is beautiful and has amazing music. Like if you like music in your anime, that one right there, that's got some great music.
No, I do.
And I also used to be a fan of Fullmetal Alchemist, but the fandom kind of made me not like it anymore.
You know, I completely understand that. I mean, I was never into Full Metal Alchemist, but there are a lot of anime fandoms out there that kinda, yeah, I love the anime, or not even just anime, but there's a lot of fandoms out there in general. Like I love whatever it is they're a fan of, but not so much the fandom. Like, for example, I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, but I sometimes Dragon Ball fans kind of make me cringe. I'm a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, probably my favorite game series of all time, the original,
Oh yeah.
the original series at least. But the community, whew, can sometimes be a bit out there, and I'm a kind of an out there guy myself. But yeah, sometimes they can get a little crazy. And also, I would say probably the Rick and Morty fan base. I really love Rick and Morty. I love all of Adult Swim. At one point in time, if I wasn't trying to be a VTuber, I was contemplating, just becoming an Aqua Teen Hunger Force shitposting Twitter page. But anyway, the Rick and Morty fandom, it's kind of cringe sometimes.
It's really cringe.
Yeah, I kind of once the whole video of the guy jumping up and down over the Szechuan sauce came out, I kind of pulled back. I was like, okay, all right, I'm gonna keep my distance here.
Yeah, and even online, like people like saying that you have to have like a super high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. I'm like, It's literally a dumb cartoon made by people who are dumb. Get over yourselves.
But now, in regards to soundtracks, I do love an anime with an amazing soundtrack. For me, I really love music, even though I have absolutely no musical talent whatsoever. I do enjoy really good music, and if we're just going by just soundtrack alone, I really love Cowboy Bebop, the anime.
Yes, Cowboy Bebop has a killer score. You gotta thank Yoko Kanno and Seatbelts for that.
And honestly, I attribute them for my love of funk, both funk and jazz and fusion. I probably wouldn't be as into it as I am now if it wasn't for them. And probably I would say Fooly Cooley. I love the soundtrack. I love the pillows. They kind of got me into Japanese punk, Japanese ska. And even though they're Japanese, sometimes they sing in English, sometimes they sing in Japanese. But even though I can't understand Japanese, I do find it to be a great experience. Really, punk is a really great type of music where, sometimes there's a good message, sometimes there isn't, but the music will always get you hyped for the most part. And speaking of which, what kind of music do you like?
A better question is, what kind of music do I not like? Because I listen to all kinds of stuff. Like, I'll listen to, like, very classical, instrumental, orchestral pieces, like, stuff that you would hear in, like, music theory kind of a class, or music history. And I also like smooth jazz. I then also like EDM, trap, hip-hop, hard rap. I like all kinds of rap. And then I like soft rock, oldies rock, metal, and death metal. And I also like industrial, and especially German industrial. German industrial is great. And a bit of J-pop and J-rock and K-pop in there too.
And that is quite an eclectic taste. Now, this might be a bit difficult considering your taste, but do you have a favorite band or singer or group or artist? Or maybe if that's too difficult, do you have maybe a top 5?
Oh, I can shout out an artist who saved my life. Her name is Yona Lee. At the time, her musical group went by the name I Am I, Who Am I? You can find them on YouTube. They actually started off as a project on YouTube. And her music with that first album with that group literally saved me from ending my life.
Music can be very powerful like that. Music can be very, very, very powerful like that. And I myself, I would say there are 2 artists that kind of did that for me. And 2 very different stages in my life. I was in a very dark place myself, and I would say when I came home from university, I'm from a very small town in rural North Carolina, and when I came home from university, not a lot of opportunities, very depressing life, high crime rate, high drug addiction rate, and I kind of felt out of place, like I didn't belong, like I was never going to go anywhere in life. Like my whole time at university just down the drain. And so I kind of, I don't want to say I hit rock bottom because I wasn't really an addict or anything like that, though I did enjoy the occasional drink, the occasional puff here and there. But I would say Madis Yahoo, I don't know if you know who he is, but his music kind of really gave me a light to get through that. And more recently, I would say back in 2014, I got married in 2014, and we wanted to have a child, and we lost our first one, unfortunately. And very, very dark place. And then at that point in time, I was getting more into ska punk and Streetlight Manifesto. Their music just it kind of struck a chord with me. The whole the whole, you think life is hard, but we go on, we pick ourselves up, somehow, some way we persevere. That kind of attitude it kind of struck a chord with me. And so music is very powerful, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so big in supporting music and also indie creators, indie and other indie artists as well, because you never know if this artist, if this YouTuber, this VTuber, this filmmaker is going to be the person that makes what saves your life one day. Um, and so I hate that you had to go through that. I really do. But I'm glad that if you were in that situation, you found something to help you. Um, Now I know you're kind of, you're really active in a lot of different mediums, um, and you're really active. You've done some film work and stuff. But have you had a chance to meet any of these musicians that you like, or any of these other famous artists, or filmmakers, or YouTubers, or anything like that?
I've met a fair amount of anime voice actors like Mike McFarland, Greg Ayres, Monica Rial, Chris Patton. Uh, just those are a few I can name off the top of my head. There's others. There's of course Vic Mignogna because he was everywhere in the con scene back in the early 2000s. He was everywhere. It's hard to miss him. And I used to hang out with him for a while. Um, I met and worked for M. Night Shyamalan on a couple of films.
Oh wow.
He's a cool guy. He's a real cool guy. I met and became friends with Jackson Rathbone, who played Jasper in the Twilight movies, and he introduced me to the rest of the Twilight cast. So I got to meet like Robert Pattinson and all those people. And then with music, I met Adam Lambert at an event. He's pretty cool. Um, I've met Hollywood Undead, and I briefly met one of the people from Rammstein at a concert because I got hurt and they wanted to make sure I was okay. Oh, I got to meet Seth Green.
Oh wow. Oh.
Yes, when Robot Chicken debuted, I was at that convention he was doing a thing at, and I was working in the green room, so I got to actually hang out with him when it debuted.
And if you don't mind, what's he like in real life?
He's a pretty chill, laid back guy. Like he's very funny, but he's not like over the top. Like he's not super animated. He's just pretty casual.
Now, I don't want to get into really anything really any controversial. So if you feel like it's something you don't want to talk about, please let me know and we'll move on to something else. Um, but what was Vic Mignogna like in person?
He's he's a very nice guy. Like he's a very nice guy. I think his problem is that he doesn't always understand boundaries in regards to how a person in a position of power, like being a known voice actor, like that position, the power you have in regards to how you treat people who are your fans. Because he would get real close to some of his fans, and it wasn't exactly appropriate at the level he would get close to them. Like, he would treat his fan club like his own personal army. Like, if he wasn't invited to a major convention, he would tell his fans to email blast the convention and attack them and say, we're gonna make sure no one comes to your con unless you invite Vic and stuff like that.
No, unfortunately, I've never gone to a convention, so this is kind of all the culture is really new to me, unfortunately. And one more thing before we, I guess, move on to another topic. Now, let's say there was one person out there, one famous person you haven't met yet, but you would love to meet. Who do you think that would be?
One famous person. Oh, that's tough because there's quite a few people I admire. But it probably would be Yona Lee, so I could thank her for having her music come out at the right place at the right time, and for her creativity.
Now, to kind of shift gears a bit, I would say, I remember at one point in time that you described yourself as being a lewd tuber. Would you still describe yourself as such?
I tried briefly to err away from that and try to be a bit more like, PG, kind of like where younger people can be comfortable around my stuff. But I realized that's just not me. My history has been the adult industry, so it's still part of me, so it's kind of hard for me to keep things clean all the time.
No. Now, is that something you would feel comfortable talking about? Your past?
Sure,
All right.
sure.
Now,
It's not a secret.
oh, absolutely, absolutely. But you're a guest here, and you're some, like I said, you're somebody I look up to. You're a guest here, and the last thing I would ever want you to do is to feel uncomfortable. Um, Now, I don't get to ask this question to any of my other guests. I've interviewed other VTubers. I've interviewed game developers. So can I ask, who are some of your favorite, or who is your favorite adult film star?
My favorite adult film star. Um, it's probably a tie between Sunny Lane and Sarah Vandella.
Oh wow, I
And I've met both of them in person, and they're both amazing, lovely ladies. And in third place would be Lena Starr, she's not quite famous yet, but she's getting there. And she's awesome, and she's actually a homie of mine. Like, we're buddies.
it's been a while. I'll be honest. It's kind of been a while since I've kind of watched the material, but back in the day, I used to keep up with a couple. Some of my favorites were Asa Akira, Fujiko Kano, Tara Patrick, and I would say Joanna Angel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her, Joanna Angel, but I feel like maybe your style, or at least your aesthetic, kind of matches a bit with hers. Um, she presents herself as kind of like an alt, like maybe back in, I say, the mid 2000s, late 2000s. She presented herself as like an alternative to the whole Suicide Girls. Whereas the Suicide Girls was more like a more goth aesthetic. She was more like a punk aesthetic. Um, but very, very wonderful person, I would say. Um, and if you could work with any adult film star, who would you like to work with?
Who would I like to work with? Uh, that's tough because now with like sites like OnlyFans and people blowing up on there becoming famous, like I would call Belle Delphine an adult film star now, and she seems like a hoot to work with.
You know, I think that would be a really interesting dynamic. I think that would be a really, really interesting dynamic. She seems like very energetic, very, very, playful, and you have kind of like this calm feeling about you. You seem like you're a very fun person, but you also kind of have like a calming. Maybe it's because I came across you from your ASMR, perhaps. Maybe that's why I get that vibe. But I think there would be a really cool dynamic there. Um, and how did you get into the adult film industry?
It kind of started back when I was on MySpace and LiveJournal. I used to join communities where they'd ask you to like share your pics and we'll rate them, that kind of stuff. And then MySpace, rate my pic kind of deal. And people would approach me, asking if I would, sell them more private images. And it started like right as I got graduated high school, like literally right as I turned 18. And then I joined this site called Fubar as a model, where I was given money in exchange for posting lewd photos to my account. And from there, I got approached by people to do more explicit content for sale on sites like My Girl Fund and Extra Lunch Money and stuff like that, which was a place to sell adult content before Patreon and OnlyFans and such.
And what is it like working in the adult film industry?
You have to always keep your guard up because you never know fully if the project's legit or not, and the intentions of the producer, like where the stuff's going to go. Like you have to make sure you get everything in writing in case you have to take them to court. And you always got to get tested if you're working with another person, and the test has to be legit. And the tests are very expensive. It's a couple $100 each time you get tested. And you got to do that every couple months if you're actively performing.
And
so it's expensive and it's time consuming, and you always got to keep your guard up because you never know if the people you're working for or working with are legit, and you have to deal sometimes with obsessive fans who don't know boundaries. It gets crazy.
And now, on average, how often would you work, or how often, or how many films would you make in a month?
When I was producing my own stuff, I would knock out a few clips and a photo set every other month or so. And with professional stuff, I would do about maybe 3 or 4 professional shoots a year. Mostly for photos, sometimes for video, but mostly photos.
I do have some experience in the film industry. I've never been in adult films, but I do have some experience in the film industry. When I was in university, I was fortunate enough to work on a couple of projects. Now, one thing I've always been kind of curious about, maybe you can help me with this, is that when in an adult film, when they're shooting, do they shoot the whole scene at once, or do they kind of shoot several scenes and kind of splice it together? Because sometimes I'll see videos and like 20, 30 minutes and it'll still go on.
It depends on the style of shoot. Like some amateur style shoots, it's all done in one take. Like you even capture it'll even record the fumbling around that goes on in between positions and everything, and then that just gets cut in editing. But it's all done in one take. And then there's other more professional level shoots where each scene is shot separately and then edited together in post.
That's something that's kind of been a head scratcher to me. So I do appreciate that. Now, for you, what is something that makes a shoot more comfortable and enjoyable?
When there isn't a lot of pressure, like when I know I can take breaks, when I know that I have the freedom to say no to something and not, upset anybody. When I have some control over what goes on during the shoot.
And was there ever a time in which you did feel uncomfortable doing a shoot?
I was drugged during a shoot once.
Oh.
Yeah, someone spiked my soda bottle with GHB.
Oh, wow.
And the reason I was given for that was I seemed too uptight and they wanted me to loosen up. Well, I definitely loosened up because I was very floppy, not in control, and it hit me so hard I wound up throwing up all over everybody. So I guess they want to loosened up. They loosened up everything, including my guts, all over them and the floor.
Wow, that just seems like that could have went way worse. Wow. I've heard about stuff. I've heard about, sometimes people, smoking meth or, doing stuff like that before a shoot to kind of, some guys say it feels like it helps them to last longer. But I'm not inside. I'm not in the industry, and it's just hearsay. So I wasn't actually sure. But wow, that's scary to think about, man. That is really, really scary to think about. Um, now, now to kind of maybe lighten the mood up a bit. Out of out of all your time in the adult film industry, what do you think your best moment was, or your best moment is, I should say?
I think the best is when I worked out in Nevada at the legal brothel. I was a finalist for an award for Courtesan of the Year. So basically, out of all of the legal sex workers who work the brothels, out of all the brothels, I was one of 5 finalists that year. And I came in second behind the person who won.
Oh wow! Oh wow! That's one of the things I really do admire about you, Kitty, is that you have such a varied career. You it seems like you love to dabble in a little bit of everything, and that's something I really appreciate about you. I appreciate about any artist, actually. I love the fact that they're willing to try new things. Now, how did you become an escort, if you don't mind me asking?
Kind of just happened by happenstance. A long time ago, I got some of my cosplay stuff blew up and got semi-viral online. And an owner of one of the brothels found my stuff and my contact info and emailed me saying, hey, if you ever want to make some real money, you can come see your fans here at my brothel. Hit me up if you're interested. And at the time I declined. I said, no, that's okay. And then a few years later, I got hit by some circumstances where I needed to be able to make consistent money and do it in a schedule that fit my health issues at the time. So I emailed him and said, hey, is that offer still open? He said, yeah. I'm like, okay, I'll come work for you.
No. And what was a typical day like for someone working as an escort like you did in that situation?
Well, at the first place, the days were very long because the first place I worked at was a small brothel in the middle of nowhere. So it didn't get a lot of walk-in traffic. Most of my business was made by appointments, where people would specifically come in to see me. So a lot of times when I didn't have an appointment coming in, there were no walk-ins. It was just laying around the ranch, pretty much, like watching TV, hanging out on the laptop with the Wi-Fi, if the Wi-Fi worked, chit-chatting with the other ladies, annoying my supervisor. I did a lot of annoying the supervisor.
No, I remember hearing you telling some stories about it once in some of your videos, and one of the things that I've been curious about is, I'm not sure if this is illegal under Nevada law, but in your situation, were you only allowed to service men, or were you also allowed to service women as well?
Oh, I can service any gender presentation.
Actually, yeah, I was kind of asked that because sometimes state laws can be really crazy in the United States, really, really, really crazy.
The limit is on the genders who can actually be sex workers legally. Legally, only cisgendered women can be sex workers. They won't hire trans women. They won't hire cisgendered men.
Oh wow! Well, I guess I'm gonna have to find a new plan B if things go bad for me. But now, what did you like the most about your escort job? And is there anything that you would have changed about it?
I I enjoy the people. Like most of the people I've worked with, I really enjoyed. I got getting to know them and knowing their story and how they got there and why they do what they do. And the clients, I met some amazing people, some of whom I can still consider friends now. And the people I've helped, like the people who lost a loved one to death or divorce and who weren't ready to move on but needed some kind of intimacy. I was able to help them with that and help them get back on their feet to feel enough confidence to get back out there and maybe meet somebody. So it was a rewarding job. Like when the good days were good, they were really good.
I think there are a lot of people out there who don't realize just how important something like that is. It's really easy to look down at people in a position like that, but there are a lot of people who really need intimacy, and as much as we try to convince ourselves, you don't need that. You're a man, you can move on with your life, do whatever. But nah, we need intimacy, and unfortunately, not everybody has the luxury of having that, in their normal life. Maybe they're going through grief, maybe there's some social issues going on, and I think it's really good. There are people out there, who are willing to fulfill that, that need. Now, if you could go back in time and you had the option to choose any other job in the world, would you still choose to have been an escort, or would you have chosen another profession?
If I could have become a legit film director, I would have gone that route because that's been my dream job my whole life.
Oh wow, me too. Actually, me too. And that's kind of one of the things I kind of kick myself for giving up on, which is one of the reasons why I kind of got into this whole YouTube and VTubing thing myself. It's kind of like a redemption arc for me after being away for several years. And now, did your family know? And if so, how did they take it when they found out?
My mom and my stepdad, and I think my mom's brother know. And my mom's brother, if he does know, he hasn't said anything about it. But my mom, my stepdad, they know, they just look the other way. All they do is they just ask, like, when they need to watch the kids, if I need to go away to do a shoot or go to the ranch or whatever. But my biological father doesn't know, and my grandmother doesn't know. But my grandmother, in her case, even if someone told her, she wouldn't remember anyway. She has Alzheimer's. So it wouldn't be that big a deal. But with my dad, it's important that he doesn't know because he works a very high-profile job.
And I'm really glad you have some support in your life like that. I hear stories of a lot of people who end up losing their families and stuff because of that. And so I think it's really cool that you have such an understanding and supportive circle around you. Now, before we move on to the next topic, I just want to say, there's a lot of people out there who who they criticize, people who work in the sex work industry, they look down at them, and I think that's complete and utter bullshit myself because, there's some intersection between the VTubing community and the sex work community, and I've granted I haven't been around these people just a couple months, I haven't been around sex workers very much in my life. I've only since maybe August, but the time I spent, let me tell you what, Kitty. These people are some of the most wholesome people you would ever meet in your life. And I think it's just complete bullshit that people would criticize them, would, just talk about them like they're garbage, And so I want to ask you, what's one thing that you would like those outside of the sex work industry to know about sex workers?
The main thing is that sex work is real work. It is a job like any other job. And it's something that us workers take very seriously. Like, it's not easy. It's not just spread our legs and get $1 million. It takes a lot more than that. We have to be social media savvy. We have to know how to promote ourselves. We have to know how to take good photos and look good on camera for video and everything. We also, if we work in a club, we also have to know how to dance and be good dancers. And we also have to have really good people skills and be able to talk to people and connect with them. That's the way we make money, is forming connections.
I'm picking up on a lot of parallels between that and, YouTube and VTube and a lot of those same things. You have to be social media savvy. You have to be good with photos or images. You have to be good at networking, connecting with people. Now, do you think that's a coincidence, or do you just think that's the nature of the entertainment industry?
I think that's just how entertainment works these days.
Speaking of entertainment, I want to move on to your content creation. And I'm going to try my best not to fanboy so much, because I really love your ASMR stuff. I know I've been told you a million times in the past 20, 30 minutes we've been talking. But I was going through a really, really horrible bout with insomnia back in 2019 when I discovered your work. And it really helped me. I forget the exact title of the video, but you have this one video where you role play as a loving, caring girlfriend who talks to you when you come home from work on a rainy day. And something, I don't know if it's the rain in the background, I don't know if it's your soothing voice, but it really helped me fall asleep. So if it seems like I'm really obsessed with your ASMR, that's why. Even now when sometimes I get insomnia, I'll still go back to that video. But I've also listened to a lot of your other ASMR videos, and one of the things I really like in your role play videos is that you've created numerous characters. And this might be a bit of a difficult question, but do you have a personal favorite character?
It's probably a tie between Ruby, Takara, and Nika.
And what is it about them that you like? What is it about them that would make them your favorite?
Well, Takara reflects me the most. She has the most similar personality to me, so I put a lot of myself in her. Ruby, because I like playing that sweet, romantic type. And then as Nika, I can be as lewd and sassy as I want, because she's a very lewd character.
Now, being a content creator is no easy feat. We face hurdles day after day. But what are some of the problems you've had to face over the course of your career?
Aside from technical issues and hardware issues, just getting my stuff out there, getting it where people can watch and listen to it, and being able to make money doing it.
Now as a Vtuber, what are some issues that maybe you've had to face that other types of content creators perhaps don't have to?
Well, not everyone is comfortable with even remotely sexual content, so they tend to look down on it and not want to be bothered with it, and yada yada yada. So there's some people they just aren't into it, and they will tell you as much. I've been called all kinds of names and saying that what I'm doing isn't ASMR, or what I'm doing is a sham on ASMR, that I'm making a mockery of it by doing sexy stuff.
Well, let me be the first to tell you that anybody who tells you that is completely full of shit. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of videos on YouTube where people eating stuff or running an air conditioner in the background and making noises with their mouth. Not everybody has the talent to sit out and write a story. I appreciate the amount of effort that goes into your videos. You write stories. You have to voice act them, and I think a lot of people just kind of they don't appreciate what goes into it. Or I'm sorry, not a lot of people, but a lot of critics, they just don't realize that aspect of content creation. One thing, I think a good segue into your VTubing career would be this right here. Now, one thing that kind of really interests me to get into whole VTubing was Project Melody. And now, when she first appeared, she caused quite a stir in the lewd tubing community or the cam girl community, as many viewers migrated towards her and away from the more traditional cam girls. Now, do you feel like you were negatively impacted as well? And if so, how did you respond?
Um, well, given that I haven't done real camming in many years, it didn't really affect me. Uh, Now, if there was a really high tech, sexy anime girl robot who came to the brothel and was taking all the customers, that would affect me.
And how do you think VTubing has impacted LewTubing?
Well, now that people can visualize their anime waifus and see them interact in real time, that adds a certain layer to it that other things can't compare to.
And now that the dust has settled a bit, do you think within the LewTubing community, VTubing is generally seen as something positive, or is it seen as like a competitor?
Well, I do think traditional cam girls and such are always going to feel like they're in competition with VTubers. Just like how regular streamers feel like they're in competition with VTubers.
I can see that actually. I can really see sometimes streamers they will get just like really mad, like how is this 2D person, this person not even showing themselves? You know, how are they getting so popular? And for me, I think VTubing is amazing. I think, you know, for people like me who work a day job, or who work several day jobs, I should say, it's great that I can hide my identity. You know, I would really hate for one of my students to come up to me, oh, Mr. Michael, what did you mean when you said you'd hit that? When you're talking about that 2D anime character? Or what does thirsty mean? You know, I would feel really awkward if one of my students came up to me and asked that question. So it's really good that I can hide my identity. And I'm not trans, you know, I'm cis, I'm hetero. But one of the things I really appreciate about the VTubing community is the trans community. The trans community was some of the first to welcome me with open arms. Not everybody welcomed me as this new person, you know, coming into the community, but they were some of the most supportive. And over time, I realized that, you know, VTubing is something really good for them. You know, these people, they're not in a position where they can, and sometimes they're not in a position where they can really be themselves in their real life. So for those people, VTubing is a really good outlet. So I think, you know, people who would criticize VTubing, you know, I mean, I do kind of understand, you know, on the one hand, you know, they're taking, you know, you feel like these people are taking bread out of your mouth, so food off your plate. But on the other hand, you know, as part of the entertainment industry, you know, we have to adapt, we have to change, we have to improve ourselves with technology. So, you know, it's an interesting situation to say the least. Now, what inspired you to become a VTuber?
I was doing just regular streaming, showing my face and stuff, and then I had an incident where someone found my home address and sent fan mail to it, which meant I had some kind of stalker.
Oh,
And so I decided to pull back from showing my face online for a while. And then I discovered I could be a VTuber, so I could still stream, but not show my face anymore.
wow, wow! That I know you mentioned something a bit about that earlier when you were working in the adult film industry. Was that something that you've had to experience on a regular basis, or was that something that was very common?
I've had a few stalkers throughout my career. It's been crazy. I remember when I was first started in the adult industry, and I was doing some lewd cosplay stuff back in like 2008. Um, some fan flew all the way from Germany to where I was going to college to try to get with me.
Oh wow! And what happened? Like, did you call the police, or did you just tell them no when they left, or?
Well, I turned him down and said, you know, you may not, don't come back or I'm going to get campus security. He tried to come back and campus security escorted him out and said, you know, if you don't leave of your own volition, we'll get real police here. But he listened to campus security and he just got a hotel and then left. But then he proceeded, when he got home, to shit talk me all over the internet.
You know, the longer I live, Kitty, the less I feel like I understand my fellow man. Humans, we are perplex. We are or perplexing species. Who, well, I'm sorry you had to go through all of that. It really, wow, it really puts a perspective. As an outsider, I have no idea. I mean, not as an entertainer, but in the past, I've dealt with a stalker before as well, and and I know it sounds crazy. I don't know if you ever seen a picture of me or not, but I'm a huge guy. I'm like 6'3", about 240 pounds. So, and I had like a 5'3", 5'4", maybe 120 pound girl stalk me. And I know it sounds crazy. Why would you be scared of that? But just the fact that somebody knows you, they know where you are, they know where to find you, and they can pop up at any time. It's goddamn unsettling. But I'm glad that you came out of that situation unharmed and well. But to kind of get back into the VTubing thing, do you have any VTubers?
Like my personas?
I'm so sorry. I completely messed that up. Do you have any favorite VTubers, I should say?
Oh, favorites? Oh, yes. I don't really watch many streams, but there's people that I enjoy just the fact they exist. Vividly Vivi, who also used to go by Vividly ASMR. She's really good. I like her a lot. I like this one goes by Catboy. I like them a lot. They're very creative. I like Lil Newt, who's the penguin. She does really good art streams. She's really talented. I dig her stuff. Let's see, who else? Who else? While I have seen streams of like the bigger VTubers, like the Hololive people and the VShojo people and stuff, I'm just not really as drawn to their personalities. Like, they have cool designs and stuff, but I'm not really drawn to their personalities.
And I feel you on that. I feel you on that wholeheartedly. When I first got into VTube, and I was attracted to that. You have this hentai AI girl, and many guys such as myself. We really love waifu, and you have such a cool person, you have such a cool girl, but after a while, it kind of wears off. It wears off, and I found many friends in the VTubing community who are indie or small VTubers, and I find those streams to be better. I have many friends who are VTubers, like Gaia Earth Goddess. She's a phenomenal performer. She has an amazing voice. If you're into singers, there are other ones like Sina. She has a very wonderful, very wholesome personality. And her stream, she does art streams, she plays games, and you just feel welcome there. And maybe it's the intimacy of a small stream, maybe it's their personality. I couldn't really say, but it just feels different, and it's one of the reasons why I feel like I'm more into indie art as opposed to bigger art, because I feel like in the indie form of pretty much any art, I feel like the artist is more able to be free. Like, let's say, for example, now I don't know too much about the contracts and stuff, so maybe I'm getting something wrong here. But somebody like Hololive, for example, maybe they're not free 100% to follow their artistic vision, as compared to, let's say, that VTuber who's independent, who maybe only has like maybe 100 followers on Twitter. And I think there's something really cool there about being able to follow your vision and being able to be true to it, as opposed to being big, just being big for the sake of being big, or just doing what you think people want to see. Now, Now, if you could collab with any VTuber, who would you like to collab with?
Who would I like to collab with?
Yeah, who would you like to?
Oh, oh, there's so many people out there that I think would be fun. Definitely Vivi. She's a riot. Fallen Shadow might be fun. She's a bit mellow, so might have a good dynamic there. Hmm. It might be cool to collab with someone like Hime Hajime from the Shoujo, because Booba Squad.
Now, this might be a difficult question for you right here. Now, because I know you've been making content for quite a while, but what do you think has been your best moment as a content creator?
Um, Probably late 2018 when I was really on my A game and getting like stuff knocked out, and people were very supportive, and things were going good. I kind of 2019 I kind of started getting burnout, and then as I was getting burnout I found out I was pregnant with my second kid, and my entire pregnancy I wasn't on the internet at all, at least not publicly. Like, I still use the internet, but I wasn't posting anywhere or anything.
Burnout is a very real thing that many creators go through. And, having gone through it yourself, do you have any advice you could give for such people?
I'd say, take things slowly if you have to. Like, you don't have to keep to a set schedule if it doesn't work for you. And don't set too high expectations for yourself. Like, don't be like, oh, I need to post every day, or I need to post 3 times a week. Like, no, no. Do what's comfortable for you.
Anyone who interacts with your social media can learn that you are someone who really cares about their fans, and someone who sees the variety of your content can learn that you are a content creator who is passionate about trying new things. But I want to ask, over the course of your journey, through your adult film industry career, all the way up to the present day, have you learned anything about yourself?
I have. I've apparently learned I'm a very calming presence to people.
I can see that. Um, you know, and and let's say there's someone out there watching and they want to be a YouTuber or LuTuber, or maybe even in the adult film industry. What's some advice you could give them?
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I came in a little bit garbled.
Oh, and let's say there's somebody out there watching and they want to be a YouTuber, a LuTuber, or maybe even an actor or actress in the adult film industry. What is some advice you could give them?
Uh, don't expect to make money overnight, because it's not going to happen. You gotta put in your time, put in your effort, make the work you want to make, and people will find you, build up a following, and then as you put yourself out there, as you get work done, the money will come. It may not be great, but it'll come, because not everybody becomes famous. That's just the reality. You could work your ass off all day, every day, and put yourself out there all the time, and the right people just don't see you, so you don't blow up and become famous.
I think it is some very good advice, and actually, it's very similar to the advice you gave me when I first started. And I can testify that is some amazing advice. Um, Now, earlier you mentioned, if you had the opportunity, you would love to have got into filmmaking, to be a professional filmmaker. Um, and it's something I'm very much interested in as well. So, who are some of your favorite filmmakers?
Oh, Spielberg, for one, Kubrick, um, Michael Bay's earlier work I kind of liked. I've liked some of M. Night Shyamalan's work. I don't care if people say he's done some good stuff. Quentin Tarantino's done some good solid pieces. And the two guys who've directed Moana, who've done some other Disney movies, like, they're pretty solid too. So yeah, I admire those people quite a bit.
Well, I do think it is a really good list. I think that is an amazing list of people. And do you have a favorite movie?
Favorite movie of all time?
A favorite movie of all time, or maybe was there a particular movie that really made you want to get into filmmaking?
The movie that made me want to make movies was Cool World by Ralph Bakshi.
Oh, unfortunately, I don't think I've heard of that. But if it inspired you, it must be a really great movie.
It's from the early '90s, but it was made in the late '80s, and it's a hybrid of 2D hand-drawn animation and live-action footage.
So perhaps maybe it's a bit like, have you ever seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
It's like that. It is like that, even though the project started before Roger Rabbit, technically. It's similar in style, but the stories are completely different.
And is it something that you would still like to try one day? I know you have kids now, and I know you're married, but would filmmaking still be something you'd like to try your hand at one day?
Oh, absolutely.
One of the things I really loved about YouTube is that it's kind of level the playing field to a certain extent. I got into filmmaking when I was in high school. I graduated in 2006, just so you know how old I am. And it was really competitive then. If you wanted to get your movie shown, you had to, or your film shown, you had to send it to the film festivals and hopefully to get accepted. But now, you can cut all of that out. You can shoot a film, and worst case scenario, you can upload it to YouTube. And I think, that's opened a lot of doors for people. Sometimes it can help people who otherwise wouldn't get their work seen. And so I think that we're living in a really great age for that. And speaking of the future, what does the future hold for Kitti Minx? And are there any projects you'd like to work on in the future?
I'm looking at getting into some music, actually. Getting into music, trying that out for a change. I'll keep doing the ASMR role plays, but I may experiment a bit with the kinds of characters and subject matter and stuff like that, because doing the same old thing day in and day out gets very tiring. Gonna keep trying to stream and see what I can do to liven up my streams a bit, get more people. And who knows what might pop up in the future. I might, meet the right person who may want to sign me on to turn one of my ASMR stories into an animation. Who knows?
Speaking of which, that's actually something I wanted to ask you about as well, but it almost slipped my mind. Have you ever tried to get into any voice work, like for cartoons or anime dubbing or anything like that?
I've considered it. I wouldn't mind, because I know a lot of voice actors in my personal life, but I don't want to be one of those people who just goes up to Funimation. It's like, I want to be a voice actor, and I don't want to use my friends in the industry as a leg in. I don't want to use them. So I kind of, I'm just starting from scratch.
I think anything is possible, Kitti. I think anything is possible in this day and age, and I would say if it's something you want to do, just keep going at it. I never in a million years would have imagined I'd have got as far as I've got. I just happen to have been in the right place at the right time. And not that I think I'm big now by any stretch of the imagination. But I've had game developers approach me. I've had bigger YouTubers approach me, bigger VTubers, and I never in a million years would have imagined anything like this would have happened. For most of my life, most of the stuff I touched, pretty much turned to shit. But sometimes just being in the right place at the right time can kind of, open doors for you. And I think you're a very positive person, especially if people take the time to get to know you. And that's one thing I can't stress enough. You are a phenomenal person. I think you're very welcoming. You're very friendly, and not only was the advice you gave me helpful, but also your interaction there. As a small creator, whenever we would go to a bigger creator. A bigger creator interacting with us, I cannot put accurately into words just how encouraging that can be for a smaller creator. It doesn't even have to be anything significant either. It can be just like, thank you, or just something like that. But I think anybody who takes the time to get to know you would just imagine, can just see just how amazing you are. And for what it's worth, I appreciate what you do for the community as well, because I can imagine I'm not the only one who feels like this. Now, do you have any questions for me, or is there anything you'd like to add?
I'd like to add that right now YouTube is currently crushing me in the algorithm. Like, I am being suppressed like crazy because all of a sudden they've been hitting me with monetization issues. And as we all know, if your video isn't monetized, they don't push it in the algorithm. So my numbers have been not doing so great, and it's very stressful. So make sure if you do watch me that you are subscribed, that you're not unsubscribed, because that's been happening, and that my stuff pops up in your feed. And at least take a moment. You don't have to leave a comment, but at least take a moment to give it a like, just so I know that people are seeing it. Because YouTube, it just doesn't understand certain kinds of ASMR. They just don't.
YouTube is an interesting creature, I find. I've only been putting out content for about a week now. Well, actually, it'll be 3 weeks by the time this video comes out. But I've been keeping up with the platform since 2012, and it's a wild beast to say the least. And it's kind of one of the reasons why I'm, I don't really feel comfortable committing 100% to like putting all my eggs in one basket. But on the other hand, it's something I enjoy doing, and it's something that I enjoy watching. I enjoy watching content creators like you, and one of the reasons why I wanted to start this endeavor was to help people, much like yourself, to try to get more attention. And so I'm hoping, my sincere hope would be that this actually will help you. I'm not sure how much it'll help you, but I hope it will help you get some more attention, because you are a phenomenal content creator, Kitti. And I really honestly believe that you should be much bigger than what you are now. But as you said, sometimes it's not just about the talent, it's also about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, because also, unfortunately, this community, like, bigger creators are willing to help smaller creators, but it's to a limited extent. And there always seems to be a catch, too. Like, no one just wants to help,
Absolutely.
So that makes it difficult. That also makes it difficult. So I would love to collab with some other ASMR artists out there, but I'll approach them, and I usually get some kind of excuse like, "Oh, I'm too busy. I'm not doing collabs right now," and then like a week later, they're posting a collab they did with somebody. Oh. So I'm like, "Oh, you're not doing collabs, huh? Really?"
Now, at some point in time, I've been playing around with the idea. Nothing's set in stone yet. But I've actually considered trying some ASMR myself. I would say more like the male version of what you do, pretty much. geared towards a more, female audience. But if something like that was to ever take place and you'd be willing to, I would definitely love to collab with you. I would definitely love that. I would be honored to share the stage, or I guess the microphone in this situation with such a talented voice actor. So yeah, but yeah, it is. That's one thing I kind of picked up as well. My short time here is that sometimes there are some bigger creators who don't have smaller creators' best intentions in mind, or at least they're not as altruistic as they seem. And unfortunately, I hear it's not just a problem in the YouTube community, but it's in the entertainment industry as a whole. But I guess that's another story for another day. Well, I want to thank you so much for everything, Kitti, for reaching out to me, to agreeing to come on, because I'm pretty much a small fish in this pond, even now, and so this really means so much to me. This really, really means so much to me.
Well, it's no trouble. I'm honored because I've been interviewed by publications in Nevada, local newspapers they have out there. I even was interviewed once by Rolling Stone magazine. Oh, wow. But that was a long time ago, so I haven't done an interview or anything in a long time, in probably over a year. So this is an honor for me because I'm yes, I'm in my element again, talking to people.
And honestly, out of all the content I make, this is my favorite right here. I love talking to people. I love having conversations because we all have our own unique story to tell, and that was one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on, because you're such a unique individual. You have so many interests and experiences, and you're actually my first person I've ever interviewed, outside of being solely a VTuber or solely a game developer. And so this has been an interesting experience for me as well. And do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Can't think of anything except I guess you're gonna link where to find me in your description stuff and whatnot.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I was going to tell you, once this conversation is over with, please send me your links. I got your Twitter, your YouTube, and I think your Ko-fi as well. I'm not sure if there's anything else you'd like to add to that, but I would love to try to get you some more attention, Kitti. I would love that.
Yep, just making sure, because it's like we have all this, and people are like, "Hey, Big Mike, where can we find her?"
And I try to shout out on all my videos. I try to shout out as many people as I can. I promised myself once I got, if I ever got bigger, that I was going to try to help as many people up as I can, because I've been in the trenches, and that shit is hard, man. Both physically, emotionally, the amount of work you put in, and yeah. But all right, yeah, I'll definitely do that. And all right, so I guess we can end it here. All right, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, thank you so much for joining us as well. Be sure to check out Kitti Minx at the link below. And if you would like to support her but can't donate to her Ko-fi, please be sure to give her a follow. Following content creators is a great way to support them. Also, special thanks to Fran, who does a wonderful job doing my art. A special thanks to KO, Shaman, Detective, and KnockoutMars for all of your help. A special thanks to all of my friends on Twitter. I wouldn't be here without you all. And most importantly, a special thank you to all of you for watching. Please like this video if you liked it. Dislike it if you dislike it. Feel free to comment below and let me know what you think. And if you like my content, please subscribe and turn your notifications on. Until next time, fam, peace out.